Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of She's in Sync. Today, we're going to be talking about why just eating healthy or eliminating sugar, dairy, gluten, whatever food you've read causes acne or painful periods or missing periods or whatever you're experiencing after coming off birth control or just hormone symptoms in general, why that isn't enough to actually heal your hormones after birth control and fix your symptoms. And this has been a common theme that I've been having with in conversations with women who have reached out to work with me or new clients who have started with me within the past month or just things that I've been seeing on threads, Facebook groups, in conversations with women. There's a lot of emphasis on what foods do I need to eat or not eat? What magic supplement do I need to take to fix XYZ symptom? What do I need to be doing? And this has been, I understand this because I've been there, right? And we want to feel better. And so it can be so tempting. And what we're led to believe in our society is that it's all on us if we just had more self-control. I mean, this can go into we can get really deep here and go into diet culture and you know, consumerism and all that. But it puts a lot of pressure on us of what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And that ends up resulting in us severely restricting our diet, avoiding foods that we love, spending so much money on supplements that aren't doing anything, killing ourselves in the gym, thinking that if we exercise more, it'll help our stress or it'll make us healthier. All of that stuff that we're told helps regulate your hormone. Just like that really, when you go to your doctor, they're like, oh, do you eat vegetables? Oh, do you drink water? Oh, how often do you exercise? And it's the women I work with, they are some of the healthiest people. They are some of the healthiest people, most health conscious people, and they're doing everything right. They're eating really healthy and balanced for the most part. Asterisks. A lot of times they are unintentionally under eating, but that is a chicken or the egg situation where it's okay, is that because of all the fear mongering and all of the desperation to, be quote unquote healthier, to heal their hormones, their acne, their periods, their mood, whatever? Or did that cause it? I think it could be a combination of both. So I do work with a lot of women who we need to work on increasing their energy intake and balancing their diet more. However, for the most part, they are eating vegetables, they're eating fiber, they're eating enough protein. And so they're doing all those things. They're exercising. Stress is usually one that's harder for them because that's one that it's not a sexy thing to do. And it's just, I think, harder. I think it's one of the hardest things. So you guys know, I've been very open about, I hired a nervous system coach to help with that because that's been challenging for me. But yeah, they're doing everything right. And they still are struggling with symptoms after coming off birth control. And so it can be really frustrating and really defeating when you're ditching your favorite whole milk latte for an almond milk latte, hoping that your skin would finally clear and, sipping it being I don't really like this, but hopefully this is the magic thing that prevents a breakout tomorrow. You're buying just one more hormone balancing supplement because you saw someone on TikTok said it changed their life, or you're eating the perfect diet, but still wondering why your body isn't cooperating. But you're still dealing with the deep, painful chin and jawline acne that keeps coming back no matter what you try, the periods that are MIA or wildly irregular or so painful that your life revolves around them, for a week every single month, or you're feeling wired but exhausted, crying over little things, or lying awake with your mind racing at 2 a.m. at night. And if that resonates, I want you to know the problem isn't willpower. The problem, eliminating another food from your diet or taking another supplement or, exercising more or whatever you've been led to believe, that is not going to fix it. That is not why you're struggling with those things. Okay? Because if you're doing everything right, we need to figure out, why are these symptoms happening in the first place? And like I said, I know this all too well because I was in the exact same position after quitting birth control. And I truly believed, I was okay, if I just ate clean enough, if I avoided enough foods, if I find the right supplements, my hormones would eventually balance themselves out, because that's also something we're told is just wait it out for your hormones to balance after birth control. But none of that gave me a predictable cycle. None of that cleared my skin or regulated my periods. And I was working so effing hard for that, where it actually ended up working against me because I was putting so much pressure on myself and so much stress on myself. At my lowest of lows, I joined a functional, I roll my eyes because I'm just like, that program, to this day, it irks me. Like they said it was a personalized acne healing program, but it was not. It's very cookie cutter. But I joined that at my lowest lows, hoping that I would get some guidance and a personalized plan. And it was just a glorified, really restrictive elimination diet. And me being desperate, even with everything I knew. And I told them like my fears of like, hey, like I have a history of an eating disorder. Like I really don't want to be restricted. And they're like, oh no, we know that. Like we won't do that. And then right away, like what did they do? They're like, you can't eat dairy. You are following a low glycemic index diet. You can't drink coffee, no gluten, low sugar. What else? I mean, it was pretty much like any delicious food you like couldn't have. And even like quote unquote healthy foods like bananas or tomato sauce, like it had too much sugar for me to have it on this program. And so I did that. And you know what? It did not work. And my acne actually got worse because it depleted my minerals even more because I was so depleted and restricted. What finally changed all of this for both myself and my clients is running the right functional lab tests. And these are not going to be the labs that your doctor runs. And I would even argue it's probably not going to be what your naturopath or functional doctor runs. A lot of times, functional docs, especially when it's hormonal symptoms, and I say that in quotes because we know hormones are the tip of the iceberg. We have to look deeper at like what's causing those hormone imbalances, right? So gut health, detoxification issues, stress, nervous system dysregulation, nutrient depletion, all of those things. So that's why I very rarely test hormones and I don't do it as a first pass, even with hormonal symptoms and coming off hormonal birth control. But a lot of functional doctors and naturopathic doctors, they will focus on hormone testing, which can give you some information, but then you have to think, okay, well, why is that? Like, why are my androgens high? Why is my estrogen high? Why is my progesterone low? Or whatever the case is. And so that's, I did do that when I first started. Like I ran hormone tests on myself because it makes sense. It's like, oh, like my hormones are messed up from being on birth control for 10 years. Like I'm having hormonal acne on my chin and jaw. My cycles are irregular, like blah, blah, blah. But it gave me more questions and answers. And again, it was like, okay, we'll take these supplements, but it wasn't actually getting to the root. It wasn't solving the root issue. So when you finally run the right functional lab tests, it gives you the information so you can stop guessing. So for me, what I discovered when I ran the functional lab tests was severe mineral depletion from birth control and years of undereating and overgrowth of H. pylori. So it was like 4 times the level that it should have been. So even that root cause healing program I did for acne, where they put me on that elimination diet, like you can't starve out H. pylori. You can't, even candida, like you can't starve it out. You have to get rid of it with antimicrobials. And so they didn't test for candida, they didn't do a gut test. And so they just put me on like all of these stomach acid supplements and like antimicrobials that like addressed other things, but didn't address H. pylori. So I wasted like so much money on the program itself, but also on the supplements for the program that like didn't do anything. And so I realized that. And then I also had overburdened, sluggish detox pathways. So my liver enzymes were really high. My gallbladder was struggling. So my body couldn't detox things. And that was never addressed before. So instead of more guesswork, I finally had answers that no doctor, therapist, functional nutrition coach, or esthetician had ever given me. Answers that finally explained why I felt the way I did. And after years of struggling within just months, my skin started clearing, my anxiety, faded, and my periods became regular again. And this is also, as a reminder, I'm a registered dietitian. I have a master's degree in nutrition at the time when I was going through this. I didn't know what I know now, obviously, but I'm a smart person and I knew a lot about health. And so even as a dietitian who is very knowledgeable on healthy eating, exercise, blah, 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 again, I was doing everything right. I had a silk pillowcase. I was, washing it. I was like drinking a bunch of water. I would drink so much water. I wasn't actually hydrating my cells because I was so depleted in minerals. I was exercising. I was eating super healthy. And that's the case for most of my clients too. And this is a good example of until you run the right labs and you get that data for yourself, you won't know what the heck is going on in your body. And just trying to guess, you're going to, I promise you from experience, learn from my mistakes, you're going to waste so much time, so much money, and just so much stress on yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, like that you can't get back, compared to if you invest in the functional lab testing to uncover and ID what's going on in your body. And I wish I would have done that. I did not know that. So I hope that this, you're getting this information sooner, or if not, you're getting this information now. But healing wasn't about trying harder. It was finally having the right information. And that's what changed everything. And that is exactly what I help my clients do now is we run the right labs, you stop guessing, and you start working from data versus blindly supplementing, grinding yourself into the ground, avoiding foods you love. Because think about it, it's like that's also not how you want to live your life. And that's why with my protocols, like I don't put people on, unless someone has a true allergy or intolerance, which is rare. I very rarely put someone on an elimination diet or a diet that says you can't have gluten or you can't have dairy, because it's more about what environment is the food landing in, what's your stress like, again, all these other factors compared to it demonizing the food itself. And it also does create that stress of, having to say no to happy hour with your friends, having to not enjoy cake with your kiddo on their birthday, like worrying about vacation because you're going to have to eat out and that's going to be really hard to follow your strict diet. Like that creates a lot of stress in and of itself. Like that's actually the problem. It's not, the eating perfectly that's going to fix that. And so this is why women inside my programs are celebrating wins who have been struggling after coming off birth control for months or years without fixes, without, doing everything right, trying all the things and still not feeling better, because we're getting the right data. And in healing your hormones isn't about being more restrictive. It's about being more strategic. Okay. So if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I really resonate with this, then I want to invite you to join me in my new masterclass. So you are off the pill and your body is spiraling. Now what? This is a live masterclass that I'm running July 29th at 6 p.m. And if you're listening to this after that date, the link to the recording, you can still sign up. You can get access to the recording. And if you can't attend live, you can also still sign up and you'll get the recording that you have access to forever. But if you can't attend live, you'll also get access to the Q&A afterward, where I can answer your specific questions based on your symptoms, your timeline, your goals, etc. But in this masterclass, I'm going to walk you through the biggest mistakes women make after stopping birth control that are keeping them stuck, and the exact functional lab tests that I recommend, and what each one of them tells us, and how they uncover what's actually driving your breakouts, your painful periods, your anxiety, your fatigue, or your missing or irregular periods. So if you're ready to stop wasting money, time, energy, trying to piecemeal things together, or going to another doctor's appointment without answers or just another prescription, then I would really encourage you, this is your next step, because I wish I had this information years ago when I was stopping birth control or after I stopped birth control, because it would have given me light bulb moments to be like, oh, like I need to run these functional lab tests. Because I ran hormone tests, I ran blood labs, but like it didn't give me any information. I was wasting money on the wrong tests. I was wasting money on the wrong supplements, therefore, and I was wasting money on the wrong programs. And that went on for 4 years. And so if I would have had this information in retrospect, it would have just saved me so much of everything, right? So the link to the show notes is below if this is something that you want to save your seat and or get the replay for. I would love to see you there. It's going to be so helpful. I'm working on the slides right now, and it's jam-packed with such great information that, again, I wish I would have had. And it's the same framework I use with my one-on-one coaching clients to get them wins really fast and or sustained over time, because they're getting this information and they're running these labs and they're getting the data that no one else ever tested for. So, again, link in the show notes to save your seat or get the replay. Hope to see you in there. And until next time, friends, stay nourished.